Welcome back to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We couldn't do these without the incredible support of our sponsors, and we want to take a moment to say thank you to all of them. First, thanks to our diamond sponsor, Varsity Brands, including BSN, Varsity Spirit, and Herff Jones. Varsity Brands, elevating student experiences in sport, spirit, and achievement. We also want to thank our great platinum sponsors, including Ephesus Lighting, innovating a brighter future at every level. Camp Mobile, where leaders communicate better. Vital Signs, bring student achievements to life. Gipper, sports graphics made incredibly simple. And Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. Thanks to all of our great sponsors. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to the national office today, Indianapolis, Indiana, to speak with Justin Chapman. Justin's one of the new additions to the NIAAA staff. He is the copywriter, and he's responsible for providing content on the NIAAA website, as well as on the member portal. Justin, welcome to the program.
Hello, Jake. Thank you for having me. It's good to be on your podcast.
Well, I've really enjoyed seeing your posts on the portal and on the AD Vantage blog to promote athletics. So I wanted to give you a chance to kind of share your story. So let's jump right into it. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you went to school and college, and maybe how a love of sports led to this position with the national office.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I grew up in Carmel, Indiana. So anyone from Indiana or nearby probably knows where that's at. It's a little bit north of Indianapolis. So grew up there my whole life, didn't move or anything like that. Same house, same place. So yeah, grew up there, went to high school at Carmel High School, and kind of my whole life, probably since 6 or 7, probably around there, started playing sports. So been in sports for all my life and kind of have tried to stay involved even now post college and now staying into the working world, just doing some men's leagues or stuff like that. But yeah, so I've really enjoyed being involved in athletics, and yeah, my dad taught me early on and kind of played a lot with my brothers too. And so, yeah, I was involved in that way, and didn't really have an idea of what the NIAAA was until I kind of got out of college and applied to work here. But the idea of supporting them and kind of staying involved in the athletic world was appealing to me, and I have some knowledge in that area. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I don't know if I have anything else, but.
Well, I mean, obviously you're kind of on the front end of your career.
Yeah.
We have a lot of younger ADs that listen to the show. So talk a little bit about maybe that undergraduate prep, what sort of courses you were taking. Did you have an athletic career in mind? And then maybe that first job or jobs that led to the NIAAA.
Sure. Yeah, well, I went to small college, Taylor University in Northern Indiana. So yeah, there's a lot. It's about 2,000 students. So it was less than half of Carmel High School, which was 5,000 students, which was a jump. But yeah, I majored in journalism there. Did a lot of sports journalism, actually. I worked for a student newspaper. So I was very involved with that. Did not take a whole lot of athletics or athletic sport management classes. So I mostly stayed within the journalism field. But like I said, yeah, I had a lot of involvement with sports journalism, interned at a couple papers and covered some sports teams, did some sports reporting mixed in with some business reporting as well. So kind of got all around education and involvement with journalism, and kind of just wanted to stay within, didn't have anything super in mind post-college, kind of just wanted to, especially with the pandemic, I got thrown out into a world where jobs looked a little different, but I knew I wanted to stay somewhere with writing and editing or writing, somewhere in that realm. So the NIAAA is my first job. And it was a good fit because, I could use my skills, but in an area that interested me and I've had experience with. So that's a little bit of my journey to get here.
Very cool. We're definitely getting you on the front end. Well, before
Yep.
we go into your NIAAA job, you mentioned Taylor University, and a couple of years ago, I found out through a friend about a pretty cool event that Taylor does every year. Tell our listeners a little bit about the Silent Night event at Taylor.
Yeah, if anyone knows Taylor, it's either because of that or Ivanhoe's, our one ice cream shop in town. But yeah, Silent Night is definitely our biggest thing we have, which is once a year in December we play a team. Usually our gym is crowded. I mean, it's absolutely packed with students, and we're all dressed up in weird outfits and stuff. And our newspaper has done pieces and stuff on why that is. But yeah, so we're all dressed crazy, and the first 10 points of the game, or the first 9 points, I should say, everyone's silent in the gym. You could hear a pin drop basically. So we're all silent, and then once the 10th point hits, whether it's a free throw, 3-pointer, whatever it is, everyone just goes berserk, and the gym just absolutely erupts. So yeah, you can look that up online to see what that's all about. But that's definitely one of the biggest things that Taylor does.
Yeah, when I was talking to another AD and we were talking about promotions for our schools, and he said, "Do you know about Silent Night?" And I said, "No, what is it?" And so, again, to our listeners, if you Google Taylor University Silent Night, there's a couple of very cool videos. And we're still trying to figure out how to do it at my school, but I think it's one of the neatest things that I've come across as far as school spirit, student spirit that's out there. So that must have been cool to participate in that. Well, Justin, tell our listeners a little bit about how you came to the NIAAA and what you do and why they should know about it.
Yeah, so I kind of came across the NIAAA through actually a professor at Taylor. So if you all don't know, Nellie Crocker, who also works at the NIAAA, went to Taylor. So, and she was in the same department. We didn't overlap at all, but she majored in the same department, I believe, that I was in. So the professor kind of was still in contact with Nellie a little bit, sent the application for the copywriter job at the NIAAA, forwarded that to me, and I looked at the description, thought it'd be a perfect fit, thought it'd be really great to work there. So I just kind of turned that in. I think it's probably about a year ago now, year-ish ago, and went through the whole job process and then got hired and started there. And yeah, started as copywriter. Remind me what else you were asking about.
Well, go in and share, some of the things that you do and, how our members can take advantage of that through the NIAAA website and portal.
Yeah. So yeah, the first thing that you mentioned is the blog. If you don't know about the blog, it's called AdVantage, AD Vantage. But so that is on the NIAAA portal. You can view all the blogs on there. You can just go to our website too. If you're not a member, you can also just view them and read them on our website. So that's one of the main things. That's every 2 weeks on Tuesdays. I like to get that out there. And then also I have a big hand now with the IAA, International or Scholastic Athletic Administration magazine. So I'm doing a lot with that, organizing that, writing some articles, editing, obviously working with a publications committee and acting as a sort of liaison with them, between them and the NIAAA. And so that's also on the website and obviously in print too. So that's probably two of the bigger things I have a hand in right now. And a lot of that is professional development stuff. My blog, I like to tell a lot of stories from ADs, whether that's just personal stories and you're just kind of hearing from someone's experience. And then some of them are mixture of experience, but also a lot of insight from them, what they've learned, what they're going through right now. And all the way from, young ADs to older ADs who have more experience and anywhere in between, just trying to, give a voice to some of the members out there who are involved with the NIAAA and involved with their school, but don't have a lot of either time to get involved sometimes with the NIAAA, or if they are involved, just to kind of amplify their voice, because with so many members, there's a lot of good things that they have to say. So that's kind of my, I'd say, like, point with it, is to give them a voice.
So go ahead and just real quickly walk this listener who might not have been on the website or the portal. How do they get to the blog, the AD Advantage, or other resources? Just give them a very quick intro on the website.
Sure. Yeah. Well, if you go to NIAAA.org, you can, I believe it's under the About tab. It should be an About tab. And then under there, it should say Advantage blog, and that'll take you right to it. And then for the magazine, if you want a digital copy, it's under Resources tab. And then under Resource, once you go to Resources, it'll have a link there. So
it's that easy. And again, if you haven't done so, you need to check it out. Some great resources, what we like to call best practices. Okay. Justin, we always like to let our guests share a little bit about their mentors. In our profession, leadership and mentoring that next generation is so important. And here you are that next generation coming on board. So who are some of your mentors, maybe teachers or coaches that you might have had, or people that you've worked with? The expression I like to use is, I still hear those voices in my head. So whose voice do you still hear?
Oh man, that's big. Well, I would definitely say I have two older brothers. Those are definitely, mentors in my life, and they're quite a bit older. They're 6 and 8 years older. So they, they've gone through a lot more things than I have. And so even when I was younger, and still now, they've, taught me a lot of things. I've seen how they do life and been able to pick up just their values, what they're going through, and being able to see that and then kind of take what they've learned and apply it has been really helpful. So they're definitely two of my biggest mentors. Even though it's, it's a brother relationship, but in a way it's also a mentor relationship as well, since they're older. So, and yeah, so they've definitely been really great.
Coming on board at the national organization and being, kind of on the forefront of helping get information out to ADs, what are a couple of things about the profession that have kind of maybe surprised you, or that you just thought were really cool? What can you share with our listeners about that?
Well, I'd say, first off, just working here, it's really changed my perspective on ADs. I obviously, since my background with athletics, I had some knowledge of what they did and some perspective of, they work hard, they put in long hours, but something that, I just don't think I knew to what extent how hard they work and what long hours they can put in sometimes, and some weekends and all of that. So, I believe that it's been really good to see that, for me, just to appreciate what I'm doing as well. Like, my work is going towards them, and it's been really good. I think I view the profession of athletic administration as one of those jobs in the world that probably doesn't get enough appreciation, or, frankly, depending on where you work at, probably the paycheck to add up with all the hours and, effort they put in. Not that they're in it for that, but it's, like one of those jobs like social workers, or, any other, some of those things where it's like they're working hard and they're maybe putting in a lot of hours, but they're not getting a lot of the appreciation or, satisfaction at times. But it's definitely worth it. And I've talked to so many members that say, it's hard and you may not see instant results, but it's worth it down the line. So I've really appreciated seeing just that difference and seeing that aspect of athletic administrators.
Oh, yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on. And I think that's probably one of the reasons that we started this podcast, was to try and, just a little bit recognize ADs and the great job they do, and maybe give them a virtual pat on the back. In the time you spent in your position at NIAAA, I'm going to guess you've come across what we like to say are best practices, talking with ADs or seeing different aspects through the blog or the publications committee. So without naming any names, what's a program or initiative or something that you came across that you just really thought, boy, this is really, really a best practice. Do you got one or two you could share?
Oh yeah, for sure. Since my athletic days and being a student athlete is not too far away from me since I'm a little younger, I think one of the cooler things I've seen ADs do is start some type of student athlete council with their school, having a group of student athlete leaders that they believe have a really big impact in their sports and their athletic program overall, and bring them all together once a month or twice a month and just listen to them, bring up important issues or topics that is going on with the school, and just get their input, just because I totally believe in the value of or the act of empowering leaders and giving them a voice, even if you go a different direction. Sometimes you don't have I'm sure they don't listen to or take in everything that they say, but I think that just forms a really good relationship too, a relationship of trust between the administration and the students. And, um, I'm sure it does a lot of good for that relationship between the two. And then also just, I'm sure it's really helpful and probably getting ahead of things or getting things started at the school, because you're on the you're on the beat of what's happening in the program, or you have students telling you before you even know about things probably. So that's probably been the coolest thing that I've heard of.
Yeah, it was actually my CMA project many years ago. What we did with our student leader, we called it the Captain's Council, and how that formed, and had a lot of input from kids. I think for ADs, a lot of times they're coming from the coaching world, and when you're a coach, you've got that pretty much daily interaction with your core group of students. But when you move into the athletic director role, now your contacts are the coaches more so than the kids, and so
Mhm.
establishing that student leadership group is a great way, as you said, to stay in touch with the students, and kind of keep your finger on the pulse.
Mhm.
Any other best practices that come to mind that you could share with our listeners?
Well, I think if I had another one, it would definitely be practicing getting time away from the job and the whole thing of work-life balance. I think I think one of the first couple months I was working at the NIAAA, I talked to an AD who did a presentation either at the national conference or state conference or something like that, and it was about that and just how fatigue can really set in if you're not being good about having a work life balance, of making sure you have time to rest and not doing too many extra hours when it's not necessary. And because I think they were saying that, like, a lot of younger ADs, like you said, there's probably some young ADs to listen to this podcast. Younger ADs burn out quickly in the first 3 to 5 years, feel like they've been working probably longer than 3 to 5 years because they've just been putting in so much work. And obviously that's situational. Sometimes you have to at certain schools or whatever situation you're in. But to as much of your ability, I think it's a great idea to, you know, be intentionally resting and just make sure that you get time away with your family or whatever that looks like for you.
Again, a great point that you love the job, hopefully, and you want to put everything into it, but don't forget about yourself. Certainly, don't forget about your family. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
wise words. Justin, you mentioned earlier in the interview about COVID and the pandemic. And to our listeners, we're recording this episode on March 15th. So it's pretty much the 1 year anniversary of when COVID shut everything down. So, Justin, talk a little bit about, a year ago, as you were, graduating and getting the job. And then also, I know you're not in a school per se, but what's going on as far as your job, maybe what's going on in Indiana with return to play as well as return to school. Kind of give us an idea of what's happening 1 year into COVID.
Sure. Well, I'll give you what best I know of. Like you said, I'm not into school, but Well, in terms of the NIAAA though, we're in a spot right now where we're definitely doing some work from home still and trying to make sure we're careful with, not giving people the space to either work from the office or work from home. And so I'm not sure what that looks like for a lot of high schools right now. Or I know that we've had definitely sports going on. Like we've had the football tournament happen in the fall, and if I'm not mistaken, basketball is happening right now. They either have already had the tournament or they're in the middle of it, but they've had the seasons too. So from my understanding, I think a lot of sports are in play, and there's been some adjustments, obviously, but I don't think it's been a full stop ever at least this school year. So I'm sure, obviously last year it stopped once COVID hit, but once they got back into the 2020 to 2021 calendar, a lot of the sports, I mean, most, if not all, have been in play, and there's been some stops here and there just based on what's happening and what's the situation is. But as of now, yeah, I think a lot of schools are in person, and either in person or doing a hybrid, like something like that. And then sports are kind of the same way, where they're trying to get into as many games as possible. So that's what I've heard. That's what I've seen, at least.
How has COVID impacted the office there at NIAAA?
It's definitely impacted it in some ways. I think, well, for me personally, first starting to work there during COVID was interesting because I wanted to come into the office a lot to get used to it and, get acquainted with the NIAAA. So I was definitely in there a lot for a while. Um, Now, like I kind of mentioned earlier, we're on a basis of come in the office at least once a week, and then the other days you can come in or not. That's up to you. But I'd say most people are in for a majority of the week. Just kind of, for now, it's just kind of still staying cautious with that and giving people the freedom to not come in if they don't feel safe, or they're trying to see family or someone soon that they don't want to have the risk of bringing COVID. So that's what it's looked like for us.
Well, we hope it continues to trend in the proper direction, and that we can return to whatever the new normal is going to be. Justin, this has been really cool to have a chance to get to know you, but we're not quite done yet. We usually end with what we call the athletic director's toolbox, but we're going to tweak it just a little bit for you. Sure. Instead of recommending 3 things that you would put into a new athletic director's toolbox, I'm going to ask you to give your top 3 reasons or top 3 benefits for an athletic director, and why they should and how they should take advantage of the NIAAA website. What's your top 3?
For sure. So my top 3, I think the first one of the best things you could do is just get connected with members, and through our website, either seeing where people are in your state, or where athletic administrators are near you if you're not connected to a lot of ADs near you. So we have a whole record of members on our website of who, like, we have all our members listed there, so you can find people and get connected with them. So that's something I think I would definitely recommend. And along with that, getting involved with committees, or in some way just get involved, trying to get your foot in the door a little bit, because that will definitely also help you get connected with people, just because you're working with other ADs and they have a lot of good ideas and stuff. So, and then secondly, I'd say taking classes or workshops. Right now we're actually in spring webinars, so we got online classes going on right now. So if you're newer or you haven't taken advantage of that, definitely do that and get on some workshops or classes, and make sure you're just taking advantage of this time right now to get online and do that, because especially now with the spring webinars, it's only going to be for about a month or so. So, and then lastly, I definitely say utilizing the IAA magazine. There's a lot of good articles and good best practices, things that ADs talk about in there that is definitely applicable to a lot of athletic administrators. And like I said, on the website, you can go on there and look back at past issues too. So if there's, like, we had a COVID issue in the past year or so, I forget which one that was, but we had a COVID themed one where it was mostly all about COVID. And that's what all the articles were about how to, get through, these times as an AD with COVID present. But yeah, so there's a whole lot of articles in the past that you can look at, and then, also just subscribing to it and getting it sent to you every couple months is really big. So, because that's, to be honest, that's where I've seen a lot of best practices too, is just reading articles on there and getting to edit them. And I've learned a lot just by reading them. So, and I haven't even interacted with a lot of those ADs that wrote them. I just have read what they've put on there, and it's been really educational for me, even though I'm not even an athletic administrator, but it's helped me understand a little bit more. So, yeah.
Oh, well, absolutely. And again, appreciate you sharing your perspective from the NIAAA office. You've got your finger on the pulse of those best practices as they come through the magazine as well as the blog. Justin Chapman, copywriter for the NIAAA, thank you so much for being a guest today.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. I was glad to be on here and talk with you. Hope this was helpful.
Absolutely. No, it was great. To our listeners, remember the Zoom recordings of these interviews are being uploaded to the FIAAA YouTube channel. So go to YouTube, click on Educational AD Podcast, and you'll have access to, right now, over 100 interviews that we've recorded since starting this last June. Justin, thanks again. And to our listeners, please come back again next time for another episode of the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you.